Anyway, I'm Maurice Cook, Maurice, last name Cook, Cook. I'm the sheriff here in Bastrop County, and we're here for the purposes of a news conference regarding a shooting that our deputy experienced yesterday. Yesterday at 10:36 p.m., the sheriff's office received a report that there was a criminal mischief call in LBA. The call came in, it was on Overhill Drive. One deputy arrived at the scene on Overhill Drive and found out that the suspect that was supposedly vandalizing and creating criminal mischief to the property there had left the scene. The vehicle that he left in was described as a blue pickup with a mattress in the rear of it. The deputy put the broadcast on the air so that other deputies could hear the description, and the other unit that was responding to that location prior to him getting to that location observed the vehicle at the LBA Market, and the LBA Market's located at 95 and LBA Drive there that enters LBA. When the deputy saw the pickup, it was not blue, but it was black, so it was the same profile as the one we were looking for, because not everybody has a mattress in the back of the pickup. And this particular vehicle met the profile. It had a mattress. It was black, though. He pulls up and blocks him in somewhat behind him, gets out, goes up and confronts the driver, and doing his normal protocol to determine if this is the person of interest that we're looking for, he goes through certain interviews and identification. And during this process, he found out that this person was a parole violator. And so there was a felony warrant for him for a burglary charge that had occurred in this county. He immediately was going through the process of notifying communications, and whenever he was keying up his mic, you can actually hear on the mic the shots that rang out from the driver. The driver turned, fired onto the deputy at almost point blank range, shot the deputy in the chest area, also in the rear area as the deputy's kind of trying to get away from the gunfire, and he also got hit in his forearm. The chest shot was in a bulletproof vest or bullet-resistant vest. It did what it was supposed to do. It stopped the bullet. It did get him bruising on the inside of his chest, and also on the backside where he was shot, there was some bruising, but he was okay from those shots. But the shot that landed on his forearm broke his forearm and shattered it. He still managed to give chase, and he was able to fire his service revolver. You can imagine if his arm was shot at that point, which we think it was, he couldn't be very accurate because he had no bone connecting the rest of his wrist. But he did fire, get off some rounds. The suspect was able to escape into a heavily wooded area behind the LBA Market. It's real, if you've been out there, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's real heavily wooded back there. A few trails are cut back there. And the deputy lost sight of him, and he realized that he was injured and shot, so he came back to the front. He was there attended by two ladies that had previously been in the pickup with Stark. Michael Stark, 33 years of age from Smithfield, was the driver of the vehicle. And the two ladies that were in there didn't know him very well. They just were getting a ride with him, and they were determined not to be part of this investigation, except for the fact they were in the pickup. After he shot the deputy, and the deputy's name is Sawyer Williams, he's 28 years of age, and Sawyer has been on the sheriff's office here for a little over 2 years and 7 months, I think. At any rate, the suspect slid across to the passenger side, and that's how he made his escape on the opposite side of the vehicle. We, of course, put the broadcast out. There were many units. I hate to even give credit to anybody, but there were a lot of units that came here: Smithfield, Bastrop PD, Fayette County, Bastrop PD School District, DPS, and the DPS helicopter, also the Austin PD helicopter, There was Hayes County with their SRT team came over. We had some folks here from Kyle also. So we had a lot of responses to this investigation. They did not locate the suspect immediately. We chased down several leads and did not locate him. We backed off the investigation some, or the units in the area, hoping that he would surface if he was hiding under a house or something, because helicopter flares won't not pick you up if you're under a structure like that. And so we were hoping he would come back out, but we kept a few patrols in the area. And then today at 11:53, one of our units was checking vehicles, and one of the passengers said, well, there's a guy walking down the road up there. And so the deputy goes down the road, and because this person is known to law enforcement, I think I told y'all he had 25 or so arrests, and he's known to law enforcement. The deputy recognized him from previous encounters and was able to get charge of him, and other units came and backed him up, and we got him in custody. He was only about 3/4 of a mile from where the original shooting occurred, and he was walking in the 200 block of cool water, I guess is what it's called. So that's basically what happened. What's happened since then, just a few minutes ago, we were able to review his criminal profile in this county, and of those charges that I'm talking about, we found 4 outstanding charges against him where he had made bond. We went to the district judge, we got the bonds revoked, and so now he's charged with 4 additional, or at least he's in jail. He's not charged because these are previous charges. He's in jail under a $2 million bond. He got a $500,000 bond in each case, and these were served on him a while ago. And the charges that we have him out on, or just reinstated the bond on, is possession of cocaine, a first degree. We also have him charged with unlawful possession of a firearm by a felon. We have him on bond, or the bond was set and revoked on a prohibited weapons charge, and we also have him charged with evading arrest or detention with a vehicle. So those are the 4 charges that are not new charges, they're old charges, but the bonds, once again, have been revoked, and so he's in jail on a $2 million bond and a no bond on a parole violation. We have not charged him at this point with attempted capital murder. Those charges are being evaluated. We hope to find out exactly our position on those charges once we get our investigation a little further along. I don't know that I'm missing anything. Captain, do you know? Captain Cole, do you know if I'm missing anything?
No, I'm sorry. What's his last name?
Stark.
Okay, and the deputy's last name is?
Deputy Wilson, Sawyer Wilson.
Sawyer Wilson, okay.
Yeah.
I had, and it sounded like you did too, misquote his name.
No, Sawyer Wilson is the deputy that was involved in the shooting. Sawyer Wilson is still in the hospital. Within the last hour, he underwent surgery or came out from surgery. They repaired his arm. They put pins and plates in his arm, and the doctors are hopeful that he doesn't have any nerve damage. So he's resting well today. He'll be in the hospital from 4 to 5 days. And certainly after an injury like this, we don't expect a full recovery, because you never recover if you got pins and plates in your arm. You certainly never recover from that. But by the same token, we expect him to be functional again and back on the patrol here at the sheriff's office. Do y'all have any questions?
Could you just back up to the part where you captured Stark? You said he was walking or he was in a truck when deputies saw him?
No, that might have been a little confusing. He was, the deputy stopped the truck, stopped the vehicle because someone in it resembled Stark. And while he was talking to those individuals, they said, well, there's a guy walking down the road. And so he found out that these were not people of interest. He let them go. He went down the road, and Stark is just literally walking down the road. And when he confronted him and put him on the ground, he asked his name. He gave a phony name. However, the deputy knew who he was because of previous dealings, and so there was no fooling the deputy. The deputy knew who he had, and he was able to take him into custody at that point.
Is there any timeline on when he could be charged with capital murder? Do you know how long that could take?
No, because in cases like this where there's high bonds in other cases, or there's a no bond, sometimes the DAs decide to take that case straight to the grand jury. And since this is an officer-involved shooting, there's also an investigation to make sure that the deputy properly fired his weapon. We've asked the Texas Rangers, because we always get a second opinion or second agency when we have officer-involved shootings. So the Texas Rangers are also working on the case as an independent investigation to determine that we use proper force and so forth, and to assist with the investigation in general.
Any more details on how exactly he got 3 miles? I know you said he was walking, but have you traced his steps yet, or has he told you anything yet about how he got there?
I don't want to comment on what he's told us, but I would tell you that we have been back out to the scene looking for the weapon. In fact, they should be winding down now. They had been out there to the scene and were moving around trying to find it, because we do know what he did, and he was 3/4 of a mile, not 3 miles, from the original scene whenever we found him. We think he bedded up somewhere under something or got near something where we couldn't pick him up with some of the heat-seeking stuff that we were using last night. And so he was wearing the same clothes that he was wearing last night. So we feel comfortable that he was in that area over the night. We just missed him based on our equipment and so forth, but we didn't give up. We knew that, or felt like he would have to start moving. He's got to go eat, he's got to do things, and sure enough, he got to moving.
How far was he from his house or his home or his residence?
His residence is in Smithfield. Smithfield is 10 miles from this point right here. So LBA is what, 4 or 5 miles, 4 miles out the highway? Probably 4 miles out 95. So he's 14 miles probably from his home.
So
And
he's
just
from
wanna-
Smithfield? He's from Smithfield?
His last known address to us was a Smithfield address. Where he's living, sometimes you never know about some of these folks like this, but the last known address that he gave us was a Smithfield address.
And how long did the manhunt last? How many hours?
Well, the manhunt started and never ended. So the manhunt went almost 12 hours. If you look at the time that the incident happened, it happened almost to the minute. 12 hours from the time that it happened till the time we got him in custody. Kind of, this has got a lot of nuances with it. The other thing that kind of is strange about this case is the black pickup that the deputy stopped that Stark was in, or didn't stop, but pulled up on, that Stark was in with the mattress in the back, was not even the vehicle that we feel that was at the scene of the initial call. There was a blue pickup with a mattress in it that we saw on video after them just doing the investigation prep, and this blue pickup with a mattress pulled up behind the deputy while he was there at some point and got gas. The deputy never saw him because he was concentrating on Stark and trying to stay alive at that point. But there was a blue pickup with another hauling a mattress now, and what's the oddity of that? What's the odds that you'll have 2 pickups in that area on that parking lot that's dark in color that had mattresses in the back?
But Stark was the original suspect.
No, he was not. He was not the original suspect. The deputy went to him because he had that mattress, and he was trying to determine if he was involved in that incident whenever they found that he was wanted. And so then his direction was refocused on arresting him for being wanted as a parole violator. The other vehicle pulled up on the parking lot while he's talking to Stark, and we could see that in the video.
And that was the original call that came in, the one that was actually behind him, the one in the blue pickup.
Unless everybody out there carries mattresses in their back of their pickup, yes, that would be the case. Because here another vehicle pulled up on the parking lot that was blue, the color we were told, and had a mattress in the back of it. It's clearly on the video. And I got asked whether we'd share the video. We normally do not do that, and especially a case like this, because it's a capital or attempted capital murder case, and we probably will not be sharing videos any further on. In fact, this is the last news conference that I intend to have, unless y'all just check the update on the deputy or something like that. I'll be glad to give that information to you if you call.
One point of clarification really quick, because Mischief on Overhill Drive.
Mhm.
And he said that he knew that it was Stark on his property. So then he was the suspect the whole time then, right? Or is he mistaken?
I think he's mistaken, and he's mistaken because he was upstairs in his house, you know, and it was dark, and I don't think he got a good look at him, but, you know, there is nothing in our investigation to indicate that Stark was there because he picked those two girls up. We have two witnesses where Stark was, and he picked them up in town at the movie theater and then drove out there. So we feel comfortable that Stark was not involved in the original call.
And can you clarify real quick, so the charge that, aside from the 4 charges that you mentioned, his previous charges, but
Mhm.
currently he's being held on 2 parole violations, that is included in the $2 million bond?
No, the parole violation is a non-bondable offense, so he can't even make bond on that. The only person that can pull that off of him is a parole board, because once we get a person on a parole revocation or a parole bond, that person then goes straight back to the penitentiary. He doesn't have hearings or anything else. If the parole board sees fit to send him back to pen, they don't have any due process rights because they're still technically in custody of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. So all they got to do is issue a warrant and bring him back to TDC.
So the $2 million includes his 4 previous charges that he had?
That's correct.
And one more point of clarification. So he was about 3/4 of a mile away from where the pickup truck that they had pulled over and just talked to said, hey, we saw a guy walking down the street, and then he was 3 miles away from the scene, or 3/4 of a mile away from the scene itself?
3/4 of a mile away from the LBA market deal.
Sheriff, one last question from me. What does this arrest mean to you? You know, you have a deputy in the hospital wounded. He has an extensive criminal background here in Bastrop County. As the sheriff of this town, how do you feel to know that he's finally off the streets, and what's going to be done to keep him off the streets?
Well, obviously, you can tell that we're concerned because of the amount of the bonds. You know, $500,000 is not a small bond, and when they all add up to $2 million, that is a relatively high bond. To us, this is a very serious event because had the deputy not been wearing his vest, or had the shot been placed somewhere where the vest was vulnerable, the deputy could be dead today. I mean, that was a center mass shot. So that shot could kill you. The one to the back could have killed him. The one in the arm obviously couldn't have killed him, but nevertheless, we take this serious. We hate that this seemed like the things that are going on in the United States nowadays, and it's popular to shoot police officers. I hate to see that it's come to Bastrop County, but I think that all police officers all across the United States are facing what we're facing. We just have been lucky in Bastrop not to experience anything like this, and thank heavens for the response that we had last night and the continued response and the dedication that our people have in order to bring this person into custody. So I think it's a reflection of our community that we had such an outpouring of law enforcement that took their time to come to this county, even though it wasn't their immediate problem, and pitch in and help us, because we had a lot of resources available to us all during this process.
Sheriff, considering the fact that this is a small town and you had this massive response from the other agencies around you, did you guys ever put the neighborhood in some sort of lockdown to ask them to go inside, not come out? Was there any alert put out to the neighbors in that area?
There was no alerts put out in the area because we felt like that this was an attack on a police officer. He was not involved in robbing the store. Had he been involved in any kind of other criminal activity that would have warranted that we thought that he might have been involved. We did enter houses. We did knock on some doors. We did alert some of the neighbors, and we were trying to find out exactly where he was. And we felt at one time we had a sighting of him completely out of that neighborhood. Early on, we got a sighting that he was in Cottletown Road, which turns out to be false. But nevertheless, we all responded, not all, but they left a small group there, but most of them went to Cottletown Road. So he was moving about. It would have been we would have had to lock down all of Bastrop, and we did not feel that that was necessary based on the fact that he was not a person that was involved in other crimes other than just wanting to get away from the police. He just didn't want to go to prison. Any other questions? Well, boy, that gets me by this group real easy, doesn't it? So, well, thank y'all for y'all's interest too and y'all's help. You know, when we have a situation like this, really the media is a very valuable source to us, and y'all have been a valuable source to this. You know, you've come in, you've gathered the information, you've been patient with us, and you know, I hope that we provided you with enough information to get the viewers notified. Talking about a lockdown, I think the fact that we plastered his picture early on. I came in last night at 11 o'clock and hadn't left because I feel strongly that I needed to be here to guide the investigation and also to provide the resources that y'all need in order to keep the heat turned up, so as to speak, and to get the public informed. I think we've done a good job in this case of doing that, and obviously within 12 hours we have him in custody.